Stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for May 18, 2009 at 6:30 p.m. Can I have a roll call, please?
Bernard Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood. Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Here.
Gerard Remington.
Here.
Martin Maddox.
Yes.
James Coffey.
Here.
Resolution 09-165.
Resolved that the minutes of May 4th be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
For the motion,
So moved.
Ms. Brockway. Second,
Second.
Mr. Wood. Any discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway. Yes. Gerard Remington.
Yes.
Martin Maddox.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, this is a portion of our meeting where we ask if anyone would like to address the town board. We invite them to do so. Please stating their name, address, limiting their comments to 5 minutes. And if not, we go on to Resolution 166.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims number 5B in the amount of $595,935.04 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said abstracts.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Yeah, I really appreciate that you find all the large and small things in here. Good job.
Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway. Yes. Gerard Remington.
Yes.
Martin Maddox.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 167.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Art Bro, Building Maintenance Director for the month of April 2009.
Motion? Mr. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix. Any discussion?
Is number 15 on that, is that something that's happening soon?
I can't define soon, but yes, I know it's something, they're going to be doing this spring/summer, I think eminently. In fact, I made a note next to that as I've had some other people comment that as they're working on the grounds, going to do some painting for the complex and so on, and talking about signage. Would we be interested in seeing a new sign? We have some very nice town welcome signs out there. Actually, until you come in the parking lot, we don't have something out in front that says Town of Plattsburgh Town Hall. So I would ask you to give that some thought. We can discuss that further at a work session, and pass that along. You can see again that I really like the reports we get. They're succinct, they're bullets, it's what's been going on, and it's very informative. And I would say the same with Mr. Burrow, as I often mention with others. If you have any questions, certainly let him know, and he'll respond appropriately. The one situation with a poll that we had talked about in a work session, there's a request to move it. That is happening if it hasn't already happened. Okay, we don't have anything else. Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway. Yes. Gerard Remington.
Yes.
Martin Maddox.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 168.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Stephen Einhoff, Code Enforcement Officer for the month of April 2009.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette. Any discussion?
I've been busy with building permits.
Yes, they have. And in fact, I had to ask Mr. Einhoff again today. We had talked about one private residence. It was a pretty significant one. We had noted there were 5 extension or repair residents. One of them is nearly all that. The others are very small repairs, so that one is in there, a pretty significant one. But it's a nice variety of activity within the town, residential, commercial, and so on. So yes, sure they have been very busy. They've also been out this week, if anyone's had any calls, doing their inspections. In most cases, reminders to residents that there's more than one unlicensed vehicle in the yard, as well as the cleanup, etc. And some of the usual problems, but they're being received well, reminding residents and commercial about keeping their properties clean and complying with codes. Any other questions, comments on that report? Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bass.
Yes. Resolution 169.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from David Duquette, Dog Control Officer for the month of April 2009.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway. Any discussion?
Yeah, I appreciate the humor.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
appreciate-
Quite a while.
I appreciate the humor in the report too, but what I appreciate more than that is, I mean, some of the conditions that he has to deal with are just beyond description. I mean, I couldn't even look at the photographs without, you know, my stomach
In
doing
that,
flip-flops.
that one particular residence, not the incident with the child being bit, but the residents.
Yeah.
As you saw in his report, he ended up with a health problem going in there. But as a result of the orders to remedy, etc., the service that went to the site pulled back. They will not go in without hazmat equipment,
I don't blame them.
the suits, the oxygen, the whole works. And our officers were in there. So it really does underscore, it isn't that way every day, thank God. But some of the stuff they do go into, they're exposed to, and they experience is very challenging. And, you know, a couple of these, this report in general, my God, you feel like you were in, you know, New York City or some major metropolis where you'd expect this to happen.
And he's out, you know, granted on this particular case, he had a person with him. But there's many times when he's out there making these calls and he's by himself. Right. And you get, you know, he has to deal with outraged pet owners. You know, they can't take care of their pets, but they, you know, they sure can get upset with him when he shows up on the scene. He's just really doing an outstanding job. He really is.
I certainly will pass it on. I know it will be appreciated because a little respect for hard work really does go a long way. And again, these reports have been getting more detailed, and I think it helps everyone to get a sense of what goes on. When you hear every day, we see it, but it's tough in a report.
Well, I was here that day when he came in from that house and
Yeah,
just,
it's terrible.
phenomenal, you know, what he had to go into.
It was terrible.
His clothes, the mess his clothes were in even.
The other thing I think worth noting is this pit bull in this particular situation. The judge, Judge Padnode, was very effective in following through and exercising the letter of the law. And I was very pleased because going into that, as you're saying, Sheila, and exposing themselves to then bring a summons to a court that isn't dealt with in a very expedient way would be quite discouraging.
Yeah.
So it's good to see enforcement working all the way through, and hopefully the message gets out in the community. Any other discussion? And I will pass those comments on Marty and on behalf of the whole board. Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bass.
Yes. Resolution 170.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Fred Levine, Superintendent of Highways, for the month of April 2009.
Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion?
You're busy too.
Very.
The cleanup, the cleanup of the roads was done really early.
Yeah.
With the weather, it's really.
Weather and equipment. Remember last year
That's
they were
right,
short a
too.
piece too, so it was like 0 for 2.
And then they've been fighting beavers. Beavers have been making dams everywhere.
Yeah, they have. I did go to one of the sites. It's pretty amazing what they will do.
Well,
They're able to achieve with
They
those
can
teeth.
do a lot of damage.
They better-
And I know that the road cleanup was moved around a little bit, different from has been done in the past. Hopefully, we've been able to solve some of the complaints that we've gotten in previous years. People who felt they were always last on the list to be cleaned up. So this should act a little bit, more on their behalf. It's a little fairer.
Probably important to rotate that every year, so you're never first and never last.
Right.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Laura Brennington.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 171.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Melanie Defiant, Recreation and Youth Service Director for the month of April 2009.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mrs. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix. Any discussion?
I've heard a lot of comments on their bounce night that they had, that there was a lot of people attended that.
Approximately 500 based on the report,
Yeah,
which
that was great, to get the kids out instead of sitting in front of TV.
It was a nice multi-agency activity as well, and we didn't have a facility large enough for 500 youngsters, so that was shared with the city using their recreational facilities. So it really was a nice sign of community working together, and you're right, Shirley, getting the kids away from the machines and the computers for a little while, out doing things. Looks like a good time by all.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, if there are no other comments, roll call, please.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Laura Brennington.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution 172.
Resolved to receive a report from Amy Duquette, Town Clerk, for the month of April 2009.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion? It's also a nice reflection of some of the activity because the fees and permits and so on and so forth, as you can see, building rentals all go through the clerk's office, so it gives us a handle as far as what's going on. The other thing Amy had shared in our work session, a lot of concern about the imminent increase in licenses for fishing and hunting. And it appears that they're changing quite rapidly, as well as the cutoff age for senior eligibility. So we want to tune into that and advise anyone that's concerned to give the clerk's office a call, and they'll give you the heads up. Is there anything you wanted to share on that beyond that, Amy?
Not really. The effective date will be October 1st, so anybody that has any questions should come in prior
Don't wait.
to October 1st. Don't wait.
If you wait, it will cost you, right?
Absolutely.
And it's more than nickels and dimes. Some of
Yes.
the increases are really very significant. And the senior age cutoff is changing from,
From 65 to 70.
so if you're
Wow.
64 and a half, you can miss an opportunity. So that's important for everyone to know. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Laura Brennington.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution 173.
Resolved to receive and place on file the supervisor's financial report for the month of April 2009.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Brockway, second? I'm not sure I heard Mr. Wood.
That's fine.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Laura Brennington.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, resolution 174.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from David Comfort, Director of the Water and Wastewater Department for April 2009.
Motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway. Any discussion? We have Mr. Comfort here to respond to any of your questions.
What do you do in your spare time?
Eat lunch,
When do you have time for that?
late, about 9 o'clock. It's been busy.
It was usually here when I arrive, and I don't know about the door, but it's probably thereafter. I think it's worth noting Dave's first bullet that after all samples were collected for the month, and this is springtime, et cetera, all samples again returned absent of contamination. The bottom line, a few things have been going on. Dave periodically will remind us what this is all about providing safe water for our community, and they do a real fine job at that. I also think it's worth highlighting the safety training, attending the risk management courses. We don't have a nice shiny billboard out there, but we do an awful fine job, and it's reflected in insurance rates. And I don't know, well, maybe we get to some of these other issues, but we will be dealing probably in work session to formally begin to address the cell tower request on Hammond Lane. Hopefully that will start coming together. I think we're there.
You also took down the water tower, the Air Force Base.
We helped Park out with that. They had some issues with location of their mains and so on, and it would have potentially affected us as well. So without the equipment to do the location, in our best interest and theirs, we went out there and helped them, save them, start their project up with it. They were very appreciative.
Okay, roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renninger.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 175.
Whereas the necessity of continuing maintenance and improvements of roadside drainage ditches, and stormwater drainage systems within the town requires the need for additional drainage pipe. Whereas Fred Levine, Highway Superintendent, has submitted a letter dated May 5, 2009, requesting permission to place an order for culvert pipe through the New York State OGS contract for the 2009 work season. And whereas the total estimated cost of said pipe is $8,857.21. Therefore, be it resolved that the Highway Superintendent is authorized to make said purchase, and it be further resolved that the town board hereby approves the purchase of said pipe from the highway account entitled Drainage Pipe. And it be further resolved that payment for said purchase be made payable from the 2009 Highway Budget Equipment and Capital Outlay account. And that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renninger.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 176.
Whereas Mr. Levine, Highway Superintendent, has requested permission to advertise for sealed bids to purchase one used bulldozer from suppliers who submit price quotes for said equipment. And whereas Mr. Levine has prepared the bid specification sheet, now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to advertise for sealed bids for one used bulldozer, and that said bids are returnable on or before June 1st, 2009 at 2:30 p.m. prevailing time at the Town Hall, 151 Banker Road, at which time they will be publicly open and read aloud. And it be further resolved that the payment for said purchase will be made payable from the 2009 Highway Budget Capital Outlay account, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renninger.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 177.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has previously awarded the Moffett Road Water Project to Luck Brothers Incorporated in the amount of $1,204,955, and subsequently amended by change order number 1 to $968,820. And whereas the plans originally called for the crossing of Interstate 87 with 2 steel sleeves, through which a 12-inch ductile iron water main would be installed. And whereas the plan had to be amended to eliminate the steel sleeve under the northbound lanes of the interstate, and be replaced with a directionally drilled water main to satisfy the conditions of New York State DOT. And whereas the project contained approximately $117,000 for work as originally proposed, and the cost for the revised work is $210,567.53. And whereas the contractor has incurred an additional cost of $1,788.96 for the installation of 2 additional fittings in the Moffett Road as a result of needing to relocate the main at DOT's request. And whereas LaBerge Engineering and Consulting Group has reviewed the proposed changes and recommends their approval. Now therefore be it resolved that the recommendation of said engineers be hereby accepted, approved, and adopted. And it be further resolved that the town board authorizes the supervisor to execute change order number 2, amending the contract price to include the revised interstate crossing and fittings by the amount of $95,356.49. to a total contract amount of $1,064,176.49.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette. Any discussion? It's probably worth noting, we've spent some time on this. I know the counselors who work with the department have, as well as in work session. But this looks like it will get the job done, given the current scenario we have. Every now and then I have someone ask me, so when will the water run into the kitchen sink? And until the connection's made, it isn't over. God knows what could happen as they begin that long drill under the interstate. Hopefully nothing. But we'll all feel better when it's over. The guesstimation, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, the guesstimation is somewhere mid-June as a hope.
The boring contractor said conditions, ideally, with no failures, no problems, would be about 4 weeks. They'll be starting with approval of the resolution probably next Monday. They're mobilizing right now. We've had the pre-construction meeting. The required meeting was set with DOT about a week ago. You may know that we delayed by 1 week the startup. In anticipation, I pled our case with DOT out of Watertown to again take a second look at the crossing in an attempt to try to do that with more standardized and hopefully more cost-effective methods. There again, there's no guarantee when you're dealing with the bedrock we're dealing with. DOT did at least give us that last one opportunity. Unfortunately, their caveat was, if it indeed was bedrock most of the way across, they would not let us use traditional methods such as blasting or hoeing. Unfortunately, all but 40 feet was ledge within about 2 feet of the surface. So that said, I've spoken with the boring contractor. All things going the way they're supposed to, he anticipates about 4 weeks for the bore. And then there will be the connections, the tests, so on and so forth.
It won't be like hot knife through a butter, but this is what they do, and we're going to hope that this time Mother Luck's on our side.
Yeah.
But this is it, correct? Once they get under there, the connections are made, and
We're all
do
set.
the test, and away we go.
Yep, the Route 9 side has been completed. It was done in conjunction and again cost effectively with the construction that was going on up at the old North County Shopping Plaza. That worked out for us very well. So that's all ready. Both sides are ready to go now.
Very good.
And just one question that, I know we've talked about a lot of this, but we're talking about also an additional cost for installation of 2 additional fittings. Can you quickly tell me what that is?
Those are the transitional fittings for the crossing.
Oh, okay.
Because what we've done is we initially as well, there's a lot back that goes to this story. Initially, DOT required us not only to bore triple what we initially planned on doing, which is what is standard accepted by most highway departments. DOT also insisted that we sleeve the bore, even though the majority of the bore is through bedrock. Once again, we petitioned with DOT and said, LaBerge, I spoke with LaBerge. LaBerge called him a couple times, finally got a sitting with him and requested that we not be required to put the sleeve pipe in because you're in solid bedrock anyway. And the concern with the installation of the sleeve pipe is to protect the road bed. Well, if you're in solid rock, not much need for it. So that was allowed. That being said, that changed the diameter of the pipe that we're putting through, so the transition fittings are different. So
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockley?
Yes.
Laura Bernadette?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 178.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has previously awarded the Champlain Park Pump Station Contract Number 2, electrical to Mountain Lake Electric in the amount of $138,450. That was subsequently amended by change order number 1 to $141,150. And whereas the electrical service to the building must be modified to meet the existing conditions, and whereas LaBerge Engineering and Consulting Group has reviewed the recommended change, and whereas the additional cost for the recommended change is $6,678.73, the cost of which can be paid from the project financing. Now therefore be it resolved that the recommendation of said engineer be hereby accepted, approved, and adopted, And to be further resolved that the town board authorize the supervisor to execute change order C2-2, allowing an increase in the contract amount of $6,678.73, resulting in a total budget contract price of $148,178.73, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer.
Motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
I'll second for the purposes of discussion.
Mr. Runagat, got that one in just ahead of me.
Fine.
Discussion?
Discussion. When we were voting on change order number 1, there was no mention of the fact that in executing change order number 1, we would end up with a requirement to change the electrical service to the building. And so I'm wondering where this is coming from.
This change is a result of questions that I asked with some information that came to light from some folks at NICEC. The initial design and what would be often done in a situation like this would be to install the transformer and for the municipality in this case to own the transformer. There is a circumstance that we can take advantage of where we will not own the transformer. In other words, the utility will own the transformer, meaning that ultimately, should there be a problem, failure, and this is a specialized transformer, a pad mount transformer, should there be a failure at any time, particularly on the weekend or during a holiday, the utility will be responsible for maintaining, repairing, and replacing that transformer. Now, in addition to that, there was an additional fee that would have been charged, which we avoided for the connection fee. The offsets, however, are that the contractor had to make some changes in the wiring. One was, and you'll note that it goes from a 600 amp primary service to a 400 amp secondary service, which is all that is needed under these circumstances at this time. It's designed because as the pump station is designed to ultimately handle all of the flow from the entire head, should we be able to sewer the entire head, knowing that we have gone out for some of the lending and the grant institutions, and matter of fact have a potential meeting with one of them regarding that. To change that and downsize that from the 600 amp to the 4 amp for the time being, however, there is some wiring changes. Those wiring changes and the associated work are what entails the cost makeup of this change. So although it's an increase right at this moment, long term, we don't hold the liability for owning or maintaining that transformer. And we're also in a situation where we're now downsized, we're right-sizing this for the time being until we do know whether we're going to be sewing the entire head or not.
I would assume the expense to do that now versus the expense if you wanted to enable a broader wastewater treatment for the head, it's far less expensive now than to go back in the future and make the change.
We're presuming that at today's costs, yes, we're fortunately with this, and unlike when we ended the bidding for the Moffett Road project, we were in the situation where the contractors were very busy. We were going to pay premium prices. Right now, we're in a situation where we're in the buyer's market from our side. So it's more advantageous for us as we project it out right at the moment. And the not owning and maintaining is a very, very big deal. Very big deal. Because again, I'll mention again, this is a specialized piece of equipment. And it's not an off-the-shelf. We wouldn't be able to run down to one of the electric supply houses and replace this momentarily.
That wasn't considered at the onset as an option. It's something you discovered with the utility. They'd be willing to do that?
Right. It's something with some research that we found.
It appears, and I guess I'm making this reflection, I want to make sure it's coming out positive, that as we get into especially larger projects that take longer periods of time, you begin to discover some options that are important to you at the time you're engaged in, the project, the upgrades, the changes to anticipate a future need.
Exactly.
You might not,
some of these things come to light as it evolves.
Yeah, and this is a little bit complex, at least it feels it to me, so. I'd rather have it come now than 2 years from now, we go back and say, hey, gee, you know, we did this 2 years ago, but we have to put another expense in there because we didn't do it with the initial project.
And there are a lot of potential additions too, the conduit size, the attachment to something that's already existing, the downtime for the structure. Everything is now and will be ready for any changes that come along. As we know, if the entire head is sewered, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's a massive project. It's a $12 to $15 million project. We projected it out in 5 to 6 year phases, or 5 to 6 segment phases, not years. Depends on how cost effective it is at bidding time and what kind of grants or subsidies we might receive.
Do you have a sense of, I mean, based on how the project is going so far, when this will be completed and the plant will be decommissioned?
We're on schedule for July, right at the moment. Yeah, the pump station, the pipe is all in the ground. The relief manholes are in. The pump station is well on in its stages. It's looking quite good right at the moment. Again, the most important thing is we were able to get the pipe in the ground last year, and the conditions were very good. The restoration is done. It doesn't look like we're going to have the additional cost of re-restoration, which sometimes happen at that time. So most of the work right now, again, and any of the changes, hopefully are going to be minor such as this time-wise, because it's all exposed area, and then it'll just be, we'll get this segment online, and then it'll be retirement at the old plant. But those will run concurrent.
Anything else? Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
I have to abstain from voting, I guess.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 179.
Whereas on November 19, 2007, Resolution 07283 was passed to appoint Bonnie Fenwick as the second deputy town clerk to help meet the needs of the town clerk's office. And whereas to perform the duties and responsibility of the clerk's office, it is necessary for the deputy clerk to have the same authority as the town clerk. Now therefore be resolved that the deputy clerks for the town of Plattsburgh be vested with the same power and authority as is the town clerk. And to be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to civil service.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Ms. Brockway. This isn't one that we had gone over in our work session. Actually, it's something that came to my attention on Friday. Civil Service received a comment from Albany on the 07 resolution. Concern was we made an assumption. If you appointed a deputy, the deputy can do what the clerk does. Well, that's an inaccurate assumption. Long story short, the resolution to the issue was to pass a resolution that formally acknowledged the board gave to the deputy clerks the same power as the clerk. Now, without that, and it was Friday, so I was getting shorter on patience, I think. I said, well, without that, then what does the deputy have the power to do? It seems so presumptuous to me, but it was silly, and everybody's doing what they need to do, so that's why this is in front of you, and it seemed very important to me that if this is surfacing from something we did in 2007, that we resolve this immediately so we don't have any problems or conflicts. And it's written to encompass both of our deputies.
Yeah, only one name is on here though, so.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason I did that, Tom, is because only one name was brought to our attention,
Oh,
and I don't understand that. So their concern was for Bonnie Fenwick that we needed to give her the same power. And I don't know, maybe you know, Amy, if it's the idea that she's the second deputy versus the first. It might be, because the first deputy automatically assumes the responsibilities of the clerk in the event there's a need for that. So it might be because she's a second. But I did a broad stroke in the last, the first resolve, just to cover all bases.
The only thing I'm just looking at the notation book, it said the town board also fixes the power and duties of any deputy or deputies. So I think that we may want to include Rick in this as well.
By name?
Yeah, but I don't think, I'm just looking at here, I don't think they make any distinction between the first and the second. And the other thing I think she would have to take the oath of office. Has she done that? She has done that. And is she bonded, Amy? She is bonded. Okay, that takes care of those two issues.
Then I would offer that we amend the first resolve to read that deputy clerks, comma, Bonnie Fenwick and Ricky Collins, the deputy clerks for the town of Plattsburgh, comma, Bonnie Fenwick and Ricky Collins, comma, be vested with the same power and authority as is the town clerk. Would that be a little more specific?
Right.
So we'll insert that after town of Plattsburgh in the first resolve. We'll insert both of their names. But I do, and maybe that doesn't matter a lot either, but the one they did call us about was Resolution 07283. So that's why I would mention that one specifically. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Dora Bernadette?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes, and I'd like to, express my joy that that bureaucrat in Albany was really on top of their job that day. Earned their keep last Friday.
Bernadette Bassett?
Yes, and I won't make further comment. Amazing what
If they are
look.
looking for some places to cut at the state, I could give them a couple suggestions. They've got time to be getting into that minutia. They got, we could save some money.
Yeah, I totally agree. Resolution 180.
Whereas certain former individual district projects are complete and those districts have been formally consolidated to Greater Plattsburgh Water District, and whereas surplus funds remain in the former districts, and whereas the Moffett Road Water Project requires additional funds to cover the costs related to the New York State DOT mandated directional drilling of Interstate 87, and whereas the transfer of funds from closed projects in the Plattsburgh water and wastewater budget is required to return said funds to active use within the consolidated district, which now includes the former districts, with any and all funds and/or liabilities as they may exist. Therefore, be it resolved that the budget officer be authorized to transfer the funds in the amount of $55,000 from the former Treadwell's Mills Water Project Fund, designated HO12, to the Plattsburgh Water and Wastewater Budget 2009 Equipment and Capital Outlay item line, for a total transfer of $55,000 from closed projects, and the budget officer be given a copy of this resolution.
Have a motion?
So,
Ms. Brockway, a second on that? Mr. Wood? Any discussion?
Just for the purpose of clarification, to make sure I'm reading this way, and I want to make sure I'm reading it correctly. We are transferring funds from a former water district to a consolidated water district, not sewer funds to a water district, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Just want to make sure, because there is a difference and it would have to be maintained. So I just wanted to get it in English, plain English.
Yeah, we reviewed that last year when we reviewed any of the projects. We're still reviewing some of the defunct projects and making sure that that's clear, with the only exception if they go into the administration road, there's certain topics that go in there. But even now, they're going into a design capital project fund.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Dora Bernadette?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes. That is the end of our formal business for this evening. With that said, I would invite a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Mr. Mannix, do we have a
I'll second.
second? Ms. Brockway, any discussion? Have a roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Dora Bernadette?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes, we'll stand adjourned at 7:10. Everyone drive safely.